In the recent months and years, gold has dominated the news cycle. We have seen the increasing price of gold and reaching new heights. We have seen the increasing trends among central banks to buy more and more gold. Also, we have recently witnessed the action of Reserve Bank of India to bring back gold which was once stored outside. What is this gold and what is so much important about this yellow metal? What is the role it has played in the economic and monetary system of the country? And what is the sense of these events? All this and much more we are going to discuss in this episode of Great Gold Story. Hello everyone, myself Shubham Rathodi. Gold, a metal which has always fascinated people across time and generation. Gold, which has always played an important role in the social, political and economic life of people and nations. Gold, which is very important for culture, ritual, festival, ceremonies and stories. We have heard of the story of King Midas, who was so much obsessed with gold that he used to spend his days counting the number of gold coins he was having. Then, a completely different and contrasting story of King Mansa Musa, the 14th century Mali king, who on his way to spiritual journey to Makkah, distributed so many number of gold coins on the way that the gold supply increased to such an extent that the prices remained depressed for the next 12 years. Then we have heard the story of Queen Cleopatra. Queen known for her beauty, stagecraft, and also her obsession with gold and jewelry. We have also heard of city of El Dorado, mythical city of gold, which Europeans tried to find in Americas in 16th and 17th century, but of course failed. So gold was important element and was a part of our stories across time, across generation and across nations. Gold has some distinctive properties. If you look at the gold in the periodic table, you will find out gold is rare, but not too much rare to be found. Gold is malleable and therefore can be converted into coins and jewelries. Gold is indestructible, means you cannot destroy gold. At the same time, gold cannot be faked, and therefore it has all the properties for the ideal candidate for money. Because of these properties, gold is also sometimes called as God's money. In fact, even in India, we had gold coins, and first time the gold coins in Indian history were introduced by Indo-Greeks, not only in India's history, but even in modern world monetary system. We had huge importance of gold. It was in late 19th century that UK first experimented with something called gold standard. The idea was very simple, that the currency of UK, that is pound sterling, will be backed by gold. And therefore, it will give more stability and confidence and trust to the financial system being operated by UK. Over time period, many other countries also joined this gold standard. But of course, with the advent of the First World War, countries required more and more money. Therefore, central banks had to print that money. And therefore, the gold standard became untenable because we were not having that much amount of gold to actually back increased money supply. So gold standard in the interwar period went down, firstly suspended and then later on disposed of. It was only after Second World War when in 1944, Bretton Woods Conference was arranged, officially called as United Nations Monetary and Financial Conference, to look into the post-war monetary and financial system of the world. And in that conference, the victors of the Second World War decided and agreed upon the post-World War II global monetary and financial system. Again, a standard linked to gold was devised. This was not a pure gold standard of the late 19th century, but something called Bretton Woods system, or more specifically, gold exchange standard. The idea was a bit different now. Means, there will be a currency called as reserve currency, and the currency considered to be reserve currency was US dollar. This currency will be linked to gold at a fixed rate. The rate was decided as 1 ounce equals to 35 US dollar. And all other countries' currencies which are member of the Bretton Woods system will be linked to US dollar, and US dollar in turn will be linked to gold. So gold was in picture, if not directly, then indirectly. Of course, there were costs to this kind of system also. In late 1960s, trembles started appearing. US had to bear a cost in terms of appreciating currency and increased trade deficit. US also wanted to increase its money supply, but because its dollar was linked to gold, therefore it was becoming untenable. So in the late 1960s, first they temporarily suspended this gold exchange standard. And by 1973, most of the currencies which were linked to US dollar were freely floating. By 1978, gold exchange standard was declared officially dead under Jamaica Accords. So gold has played directly and indirectly an important role in the world monetary system. Not only this, back home in India, soon after we got independence, we started something called proportional reserve system. This idea was given as a recommendation by the Hilton Young Commission. Proportional reserve system means whenever a country is printing currency, it will be backed by gold. Of course, this was not something which was too tenable and sustainable even for a newly independent country like India. So we also did away with this system by adopting 1956 something called minimal reserve system. So with a fixed quantity of gold, now we can print as much as currency as we wanted. So gold has played an important role not only in the world monetary system, but even back home in Indian monetary system. But was gold required only for this thing? Or there were some other demands also of gold? If you look into the World Gold Council report, it clearly states that more than 25% of the world demand for gold is coming from India. So India is a very large consumer for gold. And for which other categories this demand is coming? So for example, demand is coming and mainly consumed in jewelry, for industrial purposes, and also as an investment purpose. So if India is contributing more than 25% of the world demand, so there must be supply also. Now you'll be surprised to know that out of this total demand, only 2% is met through domestic mining of gold, because we do not have enough sources of gold in India. Then 10% is met through recycling, and more than 85% is met through imports. So almost whole of our domestic demand of gold is met through imports. But if you are importing gold, so definitely some country somewhere must be mining gold also and then supplying this gold in the international gold market. Yes. According to World Gold Council report, there are 91 countries which are directly and indirectly related to the gold mining activities. Out of that, Australia, China, South Africa and US are the most prominent one. In fact, if you look at the total gold that is mined ever in the earth, then 86% of the gold has been mined in the last 200 years. There were some important events related to gold called gold rush, when we found some important sources of gold. The first gold rush started in US when the gold mines were found in California in the US in 1848. Soon after that, in 1886, we had a gold rush in South Africa. It peaked in 1971 when South Africa was producing more than 1,000 tons of gold. In between, many countries came into the market and started supplying gold through gold mining, like Indonesia, Mexico, Russia. And if you look into the recent time, in the current time period, China is producing the largest amount of gold in the world. China consistently is giving more than 300 tons of gold to the world gold market. So supply of gold is very well diversified, but only amongst few countries. Now, after looking into the demand and supply dynamics of gold, let's look into why gold was in news and remain in news. Now, let's discuss in two parts. Let's first look into why gold always remain in news and what are the occasion when you will find gold coming in news. So for example, if the season is of festival, if the season is of marriage, you will always find people flocking to the jewelry shop and you always find that gold remaining in news. Then, you will always find Government of India dissuading people to invest in physical gold, and that is the another reason why gold will remain in news. Because from the policy perspective, gold is considered as dead asset. Means if you are investing your savings in gold, that is called physical saving, that you are locking the potential of those saving. Those saving cannot be used by the financial system. It gets locked up and therefore banks are not able to create credit out of this. That is the second reason why you will find gold remaining in news. Third reason, whenever the currency is under crisis, or the currency is under depreciating pressure, you'll always find government taking some action to control the import of gold. Because if the currency is depreciating, then the demand for dollar in India will increase. And at that time, we have to conserve dollars of foreign exchange rather than use them to buy these non-essential imports. Then you'll find the another reason when the gold will always remain in news, and more recently also it has remained in news for this reason, that is called gold smuggling. You'll find people smuggling gold from Middle East to India time and again. So these are the 4 reasons why gold will always remain in news and has remained in news for the time periods ranging from decades to years. Now, recently, there is another reason why gold remain in news. In the Union Budget of 2020, Union Finance Minister announced her intention to make India as a world trading center for gold. Later on, in pursuant of this recommendation only, Honorable Prime Minister inaugurated something called India International Bullion Exchange (IIBX) in the gift city Gandhinagar. The idea was that we want to make India as a center for gold trade. Now, qualified buyers or jewelers in this center will be able to freely import gold and trade in it. Now, over the years, gold has also increasingly been seen as an investment asset. Physical gold was always there, but over time period, by looking into the interest of the people in gold, many new avenues are coming up. So for example, we are looking into the emergence of something called gold ETFs, backed by gold, then gold mutual funds, then digital gold, then gold loan, then the scheme by the government itself, like gold monetization scheme. The idea is that if you have gold parked in your lockers and if you want to get some interest out of that, you can simply deposit that gold in the banks and can earn some interest. Then there is also something called sovereign gold bond scheme. The idea is very simple and interesting. Those people who wants to get market linked returns of gold can simply buy sovereign gold bond, and you'll not only get the market rate of gold when you'll redeem those bonds, but on top of that you'll also get 2.5% as annual interest rate. And mind you, all of these things are free without any capital gains tax. It's mouth-watering. Yes, it is. Gold is an important investment class. In fact, it is increasingly assuming so much importance that even people who are not considering it as an investment class earlier, and I'm not talking about any novice investor, I'm talking about prominent investor like Warren Buffett, even they are reconsidering their decisions. So recently in Nasdaq, there was a report that Warren Buffett and his companies are investing in gold. So even they are swayed by the lure of gold. Gold is something which can change your opinions and views, even of Warren Buffett. Now, if everyone is investing in gold, so the question should be why they are increasing their investment in gold. And the simple answer is gold is outperforming because the prices of gold are increasing tremendously as compared to other assets. But the next logical question should follow. Why prices of gold are increasing? And the simple answer should be the demand and supply dynamics. Price of anything, including gold, is determined by the demand and supply. Supply of gold is more or less stable, whereas the demand of gold, especially in the recent time, is increasing. Now, why the demand of gold is increasing? See, the whole political and economic environment in the nations and around the world is suffering something called uncertainty. There are trade conflicts, especially amongst the prominent countries like US and China. There are geopolitical tensions and conflicts. There are wars going on between Russia and Ukraine, a never-ending war. At the same time, the war going on between Israel and Hamas. All of these are breeding uncertainty, instability. And because of this, everyone wants to go towards safe asset. Everyone wants to make investment in something which is considered as the safest one. And what can be safer than gold? So this is one reason. Now there's another reason why price of gold in India is increasing faster than they are increasing in international market. And the reason is very simple. We are not producing gold. We are buying gold from the international market. And whenever we buy gold or anything from international market, we pay in terms of dollar or foreign exchange. Now, our currency with respect to dollar is depreciating, especially in recent time. And that's why when it comes in terms of rupee, we pay more as compared to the price that we have witnessed or increased in the international market. The third reason is completely strange. And this is the reason which is again fueling the demand for gold and thereby increasing the price of gold. And the reason is increasing trend amongst the central banks to buy more and more gold. Is this trend or is the buying of gold by the central bank something strange or something unique? No. Rather, central banks have always bought gold. As per one estimate, almost 1/5 of the gold that has ever been mined in this earth is in the central bank's vaults. So there's nothing strange in central banks buying gold. The strangeness is in the trend of the central bank buying gold, the accelerated pace at which they are buying gold, which is the highest since 1967, and it's completely reversal of the trends which was seen in the 90s and early 2000s when central banks were actually selling gold. So in the last 2 years only, in 2022 and 2023, we have seen central banks buying gold of more than 1,000 tons every year. Even India's central bank, as per the recent RBI annual report, it has disclosed that it holds more than 822 metric tons of gold. So central banks are increasingly buying gold. The strangeness is in the accelerated pace, not in the mere act of buying gold. So the question should be, why they are buying gold at such a high rate? Why they are increasingly accumulating more and more gold instead of any other asset? The answer is again very simple. First, trade conflicts, geopolitical uncertainty. And if there is any uncertainty, everyone, people, nation, and even central banks will go towards safer asset. So one reason is common, that is geopolitical uncertainty, trade conflicts. Another one, central banks are expecting that a recession is something which is going to come. So even the global financial and economic stability is doubted by the central bank. And again, they want to play safe and want to buy gold. Third one, gold is important part of the central bank's foreign exchange reserve, and gold is performing well, giving better returns. So of course, like any other investor, even central banks wants to invest more in gold as compared to other assets if they are giving better return. Fourth one is bit geopolitical. Fourth reason is regarding de-dollarization debate. Central banks and countries, especially from the non-Western part of the world, are not having confidence in the dollar the way they were trusting it earlier. So they wanted to de-dollarize their foreign exchange reserve. And what can be better asset than gold? But the story did not end here, especially when it comes to Reserve Bank of India. Reserve Bank of India is not only accumulating more and more gold, but is also bringing back gold which was once stored outside the country. So Reserve Bank of India recently announced that it's going to bring back 100 metric ton of gold, a part of the gold which was stored in the Bank of England. So the question should be that why we were storing our gold outside the country? Weren't we having enough space in our own central bank vaults in Mumbai and Nagpur? Second question should be, if you are storing gold outside the country, then what is the emergency to bring it back now? And the third question, what is the larger significance of this action of Reserve Bank of India? Let's explore them one by one. Now, first one. See, the story is very simple. We were in the midst of the 1991 balance of payment crisis. The crisis was of inadequate amount of foreign exchange reserves. We were not having enough dollars to meet our debt obligations and import requirement. Rather, our import cover was of less than 2 weeks. So we had to take help. We went to International Monetary Fund, IMF, which was established from the same Bretton Woods conference to meet the balance of payment pressures of the country. IMF was ready to help, but gave us some IMF conditionalities. Conditions which are very painful for any country. If you really want to know about these pain of the IMF conditionality, go and read about the anti-austerity movement, or you can see recently what is happening in Kenya. Now, on top of these IMF conditionalities, we were also asked to pledge gold outside the country. We airlifted the gold to Bank of England. 65 tons of gold was airlifted and pledged to take loan of $405 million. We were able to tide over the crisis. But over time period, the gold remained there only. In fact, we accumulated more and more gold and bought multiple times more gold from the same institution to which we pledged our gold once. And over time period, this amount of gold went more than 400 metric ton. Out of this 400 metric ton, now we are bringing back 100 metric ton of gold. The reason given by the Reserve Bank of India are very simple, naive, and sometimes even clerical. They are saying that they are bringing back gold because now we have enough space to store gold in our own central bank vaults. Also, they are saying that this increased amount of gold which we'll bring back will be able to help meet supply and demand mismatch in our country. Now, these reasons are logical, but too oversimplified. See, the real reason for bringing back gold is the risk diversification. We have seen the events that are happening around the world. Central banks of the countries are very much suspicious of the action, especially from the Western countries. They have seen what they have done to Russia soon after the starting of Russia-Ukraine war. They have frozen their asset, locked up their gold, and this kind of risk no central bank is ready to take. So that's why we are bringing a part of our gold back to India. The story might look very simple, but what is the largest significance of this action of the RBI? Let's put it into context. We were a country which was in the midst of the crisis. In the throes of the crisis, we went to IMF to take help. We were forced to airlift our home jewel. And now, after 3 decades, we are in a situation that we are bringing back our gold. It's the assertion of stronger India. India which not only defeated the crisis, but never looked back. It's a story about gold. Gold which has played an important role in the world and Indian economy. It's a story about India, and gold is at the center of it. This was the great gold story. We'll meet again with yet another episode on some interesting topic. Till then, goodbye.